Okay, here we are. Ducks Don't Get Cold Feet, podcast number 21, and we are here with VINH GIANG, and he is a master of a lot of things, but I'd like to say your magician skills, keeping people entertained, your communication skills, and now doing a lot about e-learning. You've come a hell of a long way.
A hell of a long way for a boy who's come from the northern suburbs and who's still in the northern suburbs.
Well, I think that's when I first started watching you. I saw you at a Foodland conference, and I remember watching your presentation, and I came up to you after and said, look, how do I learn a bit about presenting? And you were like, I don't really do this sort of thing. In the end, he ended up going around to your place and you taught me a few things about presenting. And then from then I watched what you did and I noticed that, you started to do things around the world. You moved, I don't know where you actually moved, but you were presenting around the world. You were doing vlogs all the time. The reality is you are a successful entrepreneur, successful businessman. You started an online business while in your 20s. Was that your 52 cards?
Yeah, that was Encyclopedia of Magic. And then I moved to the US in 2016 to work together with another guy who created 52 cards. So we decided to join schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how you got the combination there.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a bit of a brief about your upbringing?
So grew up in a Vietnamese family.
Yep.
And mum and dad wanted me to fulfill the Asian prophecy. As you know, you're close to many Asians.
Yep.
And yeah, so I was groomed to become an accountant in a family of pharmacists.
Okay.
So I was meant to be the accountant that helped them do all the business arrangements.
So not the doctor.
Not the doctor, because clearly wasn't smart enough. And yeah, so I was groomed to be that since a very young age. And I was actually groomed originally to be a pharmacist, but I didn't want to be a pharmacist. But my dad made me clean up my uncle's pharmacy, work there every Saturday, try to get me into the groove, but I just didn't follow that path. But my childhood sucked.
So I could imagine a few interesting conversations at home.
Yes.
You finished year 12, and then you actually did go on to uni.
Yeah, I did.
And then what happened during uni?
I decided to quit final year with 6 months left. And you can imagine how that conversation went, right?
Can you just explain? I can imagine
You can't imagine it. So you play me. You pretend you come home. You got 6 months left. I'll be my dad.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah.
All right, Dad. All right, Dad.
No, I don't talk like that. My dad talks like that. You got the wrong way around. You're playing me.
All right,
so
Dad.
you come home, there's 6 months left to go. Yeah.
All right, Dad. Look, I've been thinking about this, and this uni thing, it's not for me.
What the hell you want to do then? Huh, man?
I just, all this studies for nothing. I want to.
No, it's for the something. I put a lot of money into this, man.
I want to fulfill my dreams, and doing this is.
No. No, sorry, man. No, what the hell you want to be the Harry Potter? So that's essentially, and cutscene. That was basically me trying to tell my dad I wanted to quit university and become a magician. And my dad, he reacted in a very negative way. So thank you for role playing with me. It just brought back the emotions. And yeah, I told my dad and my mum I wanted to quit university. They were first. I mean, when I tell the story on stage, I kind of tell it in a way where, oh, mum, dad, I want to be a magician. They supported me. I mean, that was a much longer conversation on stage. I generally have an hour, so I give a short form. Mum and dad initially, when I told them I wanted to become a magician and not an accountant, they were very angry and sad at the same time. So it took a lot of conversations before they actually supported me.
Who was more receptive, mum or dad?
Neither.
No, really?
Yeah, they both were, because my parents they went through the war. Right?
Yeah.
So they went through the Vietnam War. They were on a refugee island for 2 years before they came to Australia. So they were blinded by fear. And when you've been through that much scarcity and all you experience is fear, what you want for your children is not to do something they love, but rather to do something that's secure.
Yeah.
So they were blinded by fear. Therefore, they only sought security for their children. So they were blinded by all my other talents, all my other gifts. All they could see was, got to get into a stable job that makes him at least $60,000 a year, and then he has an opportunity to become partner. So that was, yeah. So it took many conversations going, hey, this is actually making me very sad. This is actually making me very depressed. So it took a lot of transparent conversation before they realized they were driving me into into depression.
And something that you didn't want to do.
Yeah, and it took a lot of real heart-to-heart conversations.
So when did your parents leave Vietnam?
They left in 1969.
Okay. So that's during Vietnam.
Yeah. They left towards the end of it.
Right near the end.
Yeah.
So they came over there. Where did they go from once they came from Vietnam to Australia? Were they all for 2 years? Where was that?
Pulau Bedong, which is a refugee island in Malaysia.
Yeah. So then they come over to Australia, first time ever, probably with not much.
Yeah. Well, with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, with nothing.
And then how many family members do you have now?
My dad has about 7 brothers
Yeah.
and 1 sister who stayed in Vietnam. And then, so all of them came together. All of them worked in the factory. Then they met some farmers, and then they met a couple of Italian farmers who taught them how to farm down in Virginia.
Yep.
So they worked in the factory, made enough money, bought their own farm, and the Italians taught them how to farm.
Yeah, and that's happening. That's happening right now. There's lots of transformation from the Italians into the Asian families.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, through the market.
Still?
Yeah, wildly.
Oh, wow.
Fully picking up the reins, and it appears that maybe some of the Italians have got a bit too resting on their laurels a bit, where the Asians have come into the market and are really, really having a massive growth in the market and controlling the market. To be honest.
Wow. I didn't know that was still happening.
Wildly.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of a work ethic change through there.
Well, I mean, and they're probably taking advantage of child labour, which is great, because that's what my parents were doing. Because when I was young,
maybe family labour.
Family labour. Yeah. Let's. Sorry, it's the wrong word. Wrong word. Yeah. But seriously, when I was young, at 6 or 7 years old, myself or my cousins would be up there putting together the boxes in the sheds after school. So mum and dad could put the cucumbers and the capsicums, and that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
And there's something about that
Yeah.
which has made you to what you are today.
Yeah, I think so. I think my mum and dad were just very entrepreneurial without knowing. And my uncles were all very entrepreneurial without knowing. So when they involved us in the business kind of by having us work in those really hot sheds, we just learnt vicariously via osmosis.
Yeah.
And, there were days when we were picking the cucumbers as well. So we kind of learnt everything. We went to the markets, we did everything.
Yeah.
And my family actually opened one of the first Asian grocery stores too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they still own it.
See?
It's called TVP.
There you go.
Yeah.
And where can we find this?
Yeah, it's 17 June Street, Mansfield Park.
There you go. Just in case you needed to know.
Yeah, some Asian stuff.
But it's no doubt that that's where your work ethic has come from, by seeing that and doing that. And a lot of people they're not exposed to that, and actually they don't really want to do that other than their normal week. Here you are doing stuff that you probably didn't particularly like.
Yeah.
But that must have made you realise that I can do anything.
Yeah, well, I kept seeing them start things that they've never tried before and then kind of do it terribly and then gradually do it well. So we saw them do that multiple times. So they did that with the farm, then they did that with the Asian grocery store, then my family bought into some pharmacies, and then they bought takeaway stores and restaurants. And I just saw them just start them and then start them terribly, but then they gradually become great. So I think at a very young age, subconsciously, I learned that the price to become great at anything is you first have to be crap.
Yeah.
And I just saw that they paid that willingly. Whereas I think a lot of the times when people are paying the price and they're not very good at it, they don't feel good about it. And often the negative feelings associated with sucking in the beginning causes people to quit.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of was desensitized to that and go, no, this is normal. Of course you're going to be terrible at it. You've never done it before.
And failure happens more than people like to admit.
Yeah.
And I don't think when you're talking about what's going on in regards to how your upbringing is and seeing that with your parents, a lot of people are actually guarded from that. You actually don't actually see that, hang on, things don't always work out. And it's how you deal with that.
Yeah.
Which is what you've seen.
Yeah. Well, I've just seen the resilience.
Yeah, and that comes across in what you've gone to do. So then we get to your conversations with your parents.
Yeah.
You drop that out of the equation. So, okay, I'm not doing it. What did you have in mind to do?
Well, I wanted to do magic, you know, and I knew they knew I was good at it because I've done magic to them and I've seen them resist, being shocked, but I could see it in their eyes. I was like, no, you love this. I know you love this. Stop trying to deny it.
So when did the love affair for magic come in?
About 13, 14 was when
Okay.
I really kind of obsessed about it. And the reason I obsessed about it is because it was the quickest way and probably the most fraudulent way to get attention. Because I didn't get a lot of attention when I was young. And then you've seen this. We've had lunches together now. And you've seen when I pull out a packet of cards or when one of my magician buddies pulls it out. Shout out to Zed.
Yeah.
The attention is on that person. So to me, I learned very early on that the moment I did a magic trick, everyone around me would say, wow, you're amazing. I was like, I've never heard anyone say that to me before. So then I kind of doubled down and fully obsessed about it. It's kind of sad. I mean, the reason I did it was because I starved attention. And I starved self-confidence. It wasn't this...
It's a great way for confidence.
Yeah, but then it became a problem. Because then I couldn't have a conversation with any of you here without a packet of cards. Like I didn't bring any cards with me, nothing magic with me today. But that would have caused me massive anxiety before because all of my confidence and value was just in that. They call that contextual confidence. So contextually, when I had my packet of cards, very confident. Without it, I couldn't talk to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're going back to your early teens.
Yeah.
What was there any stars that you looked up to and thought, I want to do that?
Magic?
Yeah, magic.
I think one of my early people that I really enjoyed was, it's hard to decide because it's the David Copperfield feels almost trite because everyone says that, but he was the one that made it onto TV, the first one that I saw on TV. So I got to say, he was one of the first ones that I went, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so I think
he wouldn't have been the only one that actually did that, but to actually do something from it.
Yeah.
When we talk about the internet, was the internet like around back then? So how were you learning? How were you actually learning?
It was. 56K was around.
Yeah.
There was 56K
that was like
around.
just after. How were you learning when you were 13?
When it was around the year 2000, you learned via books.
Yeah.
So the local library had books, and I remember the first magic book I got from the local library, I actually stole it. Yeah, I still have it at my house. It's pretty bad. I never returned it.
Have you thought of returning it?
No. I think, it's pretty bad. Yeah, but it's okay. They charged me they fined me, and
And now it's mine.
But I have the magic book, right? Probably paid more than that book was worth, but that was my first book. It was the Australian's Hand Guide to Magic. It was fantastic.
I'm assuming magic books don't show you how to do the tricks.
What?
Do they actually show you
The magic books?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I thought this was all a secret.
No,
I didn't think you could show people what
now
you're doing.
you'd find videos all over YouTube teaching magic, right? I think it's like anything. This is why in the world of magic, it's interesting. If you ever dabble in the world of magic, you'll notice that it's a very kind of closed, niched world because there's a quote. Magicians say, a magician guards an empty treasure chest.
Yep.
Meaning that there's nothing inside. When you find out how the trick is done, it's super upsetting, it's disappointing. You're like, why? This is so simple, it's stupid. So it's very disappointing, right? So magicians guard it because that's the only way we can still astonish you. It's the only way we can still surprise you because if you know how it's done, it's not surprising anymore. So because of the very nature of magic, it causes magicians to have a very secretive kind of attitude towards magic. So we don't want to share because if I share with you, I'm no longer amazing. And not only am I no longer amazing, I can no longer amaze you. That's why we keep it a secret. But when you have an industry that's built around that, when you're within that industry, we tend to be very secretive towards each other as well. So then, I know something, but I don't want to share it with you because I don't want you to be the same level of amazing as I am. And I want to be unique in a way as well. So as a result, it's a very kind of, I don't want to share world. And I ultimately found that suffocating.
So you have your own tricks?
No. You learn from others, unless you're a creator. So in the world of magic, you're either a creator of secrets or you're a buyer of secrets. I'm a buyer of secrets. I buy them. So there's pieces of magic. I was looking up a piece just a few days ago from a person, I think in Europe, $15,000 to buy this secret. US. to buy The Secret. So tempted to buy it. But if I ever write a book, I should call it Addicted to Secrets, because I am. Because he will work with a team of people, I'll say, to keep that vague so you don't know what this trick is about. But he'll work with a team of 7 or 8 people to develop a new piece of magic. Then when he releases it, this magician, he may choose to, I'm only going to release 1,000 of these to 1,000 people. And then magicians would line up to buy it for 15 grand a pop. Because we may never even perform that trick, but we're addicted to The Secret. We want to know how it's done. I'll perform it though, but you know what I mean? Like it's a super interesting kind of.
So if you got that trick, you would you show someone how to do that?
I could, yeah, absolutely.
No, but would you?
Oh, yeah, if we were friends. I mean, why not? It's just. But here's the thing, right? I could tell you how something is done.
Yeah.
But if I perform it well enough, you'll forget how it's done and you'll be fooled by the performance.
Yeah.
People who place too much weight on how the method works, it's also at times because they lack the showmanship to be able to hide the method.
Well, it does open up showmanship. I mean,
it does.
And that's the difference between some magicians and some that can
yeah, well,
can't.
it's the difference between me 8 years ago and me now.
Yeah.
I mean, to use that example, right?
Yeah.
Because like 8 years ago, I've got videos of me presenting, which will probably be fun for you to watch, because it's awful. It's terrible. But then it kind of just speaks to the point that it's important to be great technically, but it's also important to be great communication-wise.
Yeah.
Because you could, again, in the metaphor of the magician, you could be the best magician in the world technically, know all the secrets there was ever to know, but then if you can't communicate well and perform well and have good showmanship, all those secrets, all those gifts you have, it's invisible. And I think that relates to a lot of other industries, a lot of other professions.
Totally relates. Yeah. And I think if you look at the analogy when you look at how much communication is, a lot of people talk about communication as being, this much, or the words are actually 10 but 12%, or there's a number there.
Yeah.
When someone's watching something on TV, on YouTube, 10% is what they're saying. 80% is, 80% is like what you're doing, as in the showmanship start, and 10% people aren't even looking. So
there's been heaps of debates about
like
that. There's been heaps of debates about that, and also a lot of the statistics where they say, the majority of the percent is in how you say something. It's actually been proven wrong. It was misinterpreted information from the research. But I mean, regardless of what the stat is, right? Yeah. How you say something is very important. It's not just what you say.
Totally.
Because if you and I completely switch off all of our energy right now, we just spoke like this and did this for the next hour.
And it's a lot harder on a Monday morning.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, if we just switched off everything.
Yeah.
And the simplest example that I would use is, you could take some of the greatest music, say even by Beethoven, piano music, and then I can take you the world's greatest music, and if I play it poorly on the piano, is it great music?
Yeah.
No, you'll think it's the worst music in the world. But you misjudged it based on your ability to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, a lot of, say you're a doctor, or say you're an accountant or a financial advisor, a lot of people they're not seeing your value, not because you're not valuable, but because you have not been able to communicate it well.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and it's in a totally different way as well. And if I look at, so Dr. Chin Win, he's done my mum's hips, and she'd been to multiple other doctors before choosing him. Mm-hmm. And evidently the way he talks to her, his follow-up to her, all of this information gives her, like, he is God. Yeah. And, I race with him, so I can't exactly put him on that pedestal. But the way he communicates that is so much different than some of the other doctors that she went to. And it's exactly what you're saying. The communication part is the key. And moving forward, I mean, we've been terming storytelling, or whatever you want to talk, whatever you want to say. It's apparent in every single thing you do.
Yeah.
Whether it's negotiating with your children, negotiating with a teacher at school, negotiating with your boss, like, they all involve communicating. And I think it's a strength that I don't think many people have.
And it's not their fault. I mean, think about the education system. during high school, the whole year, we generally have one oral presentation we have to do. And guess what you'll do? You'd be sick on the day. and then the one day that you have an opportunity to practice this life skill, you avoid it.
Yeah.
And so how, and then the education system often doesn't value it because, I mean, it's once a year you do a presentation to the class.
Yeah.
And even when I was in university, it was maybe twice a year. So to me, it's, again, I think in the education system, we're teaching kids how to become technically brilliant, but then we don't teach them how to sell themselves after that.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. I mean, when I was in the US, because I lived there for 4 years, the number of Uber drivers that would tell me that, oh, I have a doctorate in this, I have a PhD in this. And I was like, are they lying? Like, is this true? And like, I remember just really asking them questions, just trying to find holes in this. Like, you must be lying. Like, you must be hurt with your confidence that you're like, you're doing something that you didn't want to do. But it was true. They had these degrees. So to me, a part of I just thought, well, what could the reason be? And a huge part of the reason is you give them all these degrees, you send them out into the world, and they fail the job interview because they don't know how to properly communicate their value.
Yeah.
And you must experience this as well.
Yeah, totally.
I think a lot of great people slip through the cracks because of their inability to communicate. I really do.
Yeah, and I agree 100%.
Yeah.
100% with you, because you see it where maybe this starts from what's happened at home, where you can't voice your opinions without being shut down, and that's why you do need to listen from a very young age and encourage from a very young. I'll use my girls; they're 6 and 7, and if they're talking in front of anyone, it's like, oh, what are you going to say? Oh, I said, no, use some expression. Use your hands. What like phonology? Well, Layla was one of, and I said, use your expression because that's actually funny. And she's like, oh, so I said, say it loud. It was at assembly, and say it louder because it's really making fun of the word. And she was like, oh, so she did. And she said, oh, they laughed. I said, yeah, that's because I'm keen on it. I love it. And I think if you could have anything as the most important thing, I think if you can get someone that can storytell, can communicate effectively, they are far streaks ahead than 90% of the population.
Yeah. It literally is a superpower.
And it's exactly what you're saying. And that's why you went into this direction of, I'm not saying that coaching people into presenting better is one of the things that you actually do.
Yeah, I do very little of that. In a year, I might do it with 3 people at most. It's just because it takes a lot of time. And also what I'm learning right now as well in my life, JP, is that I'm a massive victim of, I don't know if I want to use that word, but I fall victim to just working too much.
Yeah.
I do. And because of the way I've seen my parents work my whole life, it's like I want to do the same thing, but I don't. It's just kind of, they've imprinted that on me and I'm trying to get rid of it. Yeah. And the simple quote that I often use around my friends is I say that, I live to work, but I want to work to live. And I've seen so much of it done wrong in the US. I mean, again, not to speak on the US, I've seen it done wrong here, but I was in the US most recently, where some of the most successful people I knew didn't have a life. All they did was work. And it scared me because I thought, all I'm doing, my wife said something to me that really, really struck a chord. She said, you work so hard to build this beautiful palace for us and you're never here. I don't want the palace. I want you to be here. And that's when I went, wow, I've really messed up because I thought about, one of my core values is abundance and generosity. But I just went, yeah, but if I just when is there enough? There's that really cool fable where these 2 entrepreneurs visit a billionaire and they go into the billionaire's house and he has everything and they just were so in awe. And then one of the entrepreneurs turns to the other guy and says, but there's something this billionaire will never have that I can have. And that's enough. And I just went, wow, that is so cool. And in combination with that, I'll show you one more thing. My dad, what made me come home from the US wasn't the coronavirus. What made me come home from the US was something my dad said, and he reminded me of this. He said, a king that knows the limits to his desires will rule a lifetime. Yeah. I mean, think about medieval movies. I love them. The kings that want too much and try to keep taking over, they die.
Yeah.
They always die an early death.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
And I think we've heard more sayings in the first 30 minutes than we have for all of the podcast.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Is there? Yeah, there was child labor. There was you reenacting me, and I was my dad.
This is beautiful.
Oh, gosh.
This is beautiful. So moving on to why you left to go to to go back before that, but when you left to go to live in LA.
Yeah.
But previous to that, you seem to be traveling quite a bit.
Yeah.
From what I could see, just following you on social media or LinkedIn and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What made you leave Australia initially?
Why?
Someone's phone's noisy over there.
Yeah, it's mine. It's okay. Sorry.
Put it on a beanbag.
I was very lucky. I started my speaking career in 2014. And then things kind of took off in a way I didn't expect it to, really. I didn't think it was a career path. I didn't think it could be a career path. And then when it took off, I remember just fully studying the speaking game and going, wow, this is so cool. Like, this is such a cool career path. I get so much fulfillment from it. There's so much, like the financial reward was amazing. Being able to inspire people. Like, there was so many great things about it. I thought, wow, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I never even knew this was an option. So then I started to look at the people who were doing it around the world. And one of the people was Gary Vaynerchuk. He was doing that. I was like, wow, this is really cool. He's speaking. And I found a whole bunch of people that were doing it. And then I kind of mapped out what they were doing, read a whole bunch of books on how to build a speaking business. And the reason I chose to move to the US was because that's where one of the world's biggest speaking markets is. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool? That's like the Olympics of speaking. I thought, wow, I want to go to the Olympics of speaking.
Yep.
And I want to test how good it is, how good I am compared to what's over there.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge.
That was it?
That was the reason why I wanted to go.
So your initial public speaking, because I've seen the latest presentation I've seen you do.
Yeah.
You had a couple of segments and you did magic between those segments, but you discussed topics like perspective.
Yeah.
And is that what it was when you first started?
Well, in the US, I didn't do a lot of that. In the US, I actually taught more communication. So in the US, it was around... I did a lot of sales conferences. I did a lot of leadership conferences because, again, what I was teaching in the US was more of the communication side. That's what I did more of in the US.
Yeah.
And that was my focus. Whereas when people want something more generic, in a way, when they just want something to kick off a conference or end a conference, then I'll go for the topics like what you saw.
Bit more play.
Yeah, well,
No?
it is a lot more.
Well,
play.
it's a show.
Yeah, it's a show. It's kind of. I mean, that's what. This when you go down the keynote speaking path, there's multiple different slots you can fill. If you're opening or closing a conference, it's got to be play, fun. Got to be a strong takeaway message, but mostly play and fun as well. Inspiration, motivation, entertainment, and education. It's like just a nice little mix. Whereas in the US, I was getting some of those, but my focus was more in education. So then that's when I taught leaders how to present more effectively in ways that's more influential. So yeah, I've got a range of topics, but what you saw was my go-to open and close when people want a simple open and close.
So you're over. Well, you didn't go straight to LA though. I thought you were traveling through Asia.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, we're speaking quite. I
did a lot of stuff in Asia, in Hong Kong, in Singapore.
So from there, then you went to LA. So were you commuting back and forwards in Australia? Because I'm trying to piece together. Because you must have been away a lot.
I was. Yeah. So lucky my wife still loves me.
Because that's where you go back to.
Well,
it's great you've got this, but you're never home.
I can say this now, right? But it's funny because at the time when I was building my career in the US, there's this weird notion that sometimes speakers say that, you can't build a speaking business in the States without being in the States.
Yeah.
So I told a few of my clients that I said, oh yeah, I'm already in LA. while I'm in Adelaide, hoping they didn't hear the toot when they ring the phone, that little 2 beeps. And then they'd call me and I'll be like, oh yeah, there's an event next week. Yeah, I can be there. You don't have a big budget? No, that's fine. It's all good. I'll be there. I got on a plane, economy style, flew all the way to the US. This was 2016. I did about 11 to 12 of those, where clients would just call me, and there was one where the conference was within 4 days. Got on a plane immediately and flew. And
So good.
It was crazy because, you just have to start that way because I mean another kind of big quote in the world of speaking is, if you want to speak more, speak more.
Yeah.
Right. So that I kind of believed in that philosophy. And if what you have is good, you'll get this kind of exponential growth that starts to occur. So you do one event, if it was good, there's suppliers in the room, there are partners in the room, they'll see it, and then you'll get your next 2 or 3 inquiries from that. And momentum builds as a result.
There's no doubt in this. It's like anything. If
Yes.
you do it more,
Yeah. You get better.
you should get better.
Should get better, yeah.
If I talk about driving a race car, the more time you spend in that seat, the more comfortable, the feel of the car, you learn it more. And speaking's exactly the same.
It is.
And people say, "Oh, you want to get better? Well, practice." And what you've obviously done that and extrapolated that out for a whole presentation. What do you think are the 3 key things in a presenter? So if there were 3 things that you could tell someone, these 3 things you need to be good at, or need to improve, or something along those lines. Well, what 3 tips? What are the 3 tips you could give with someone trying to work on their public speaking?
I would say the first thing is you need to build self-awareness on how you currently come across.
Yeah.
Right? And very simple way to do that. Film yourself speaking for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You don't like the experience? I don't mind it now. It's disgusting.
Anyway, you watch it. I always hear my voice. It's like it's quite a lot to take for.
Yeah, well, I think most people don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is my profession. I've been doing it for a long time. It's gross. I watch it now. I'm like, damn, that was good. It's terrible. It's terrible. I feel like vomiting saying that. But here's the thing: record yourself for 5 minutes. Watch it back. And when you watch it back in 3 different ways. The first time you watch it back, just listen. Turn the phone away from you and just listen to yourself. And genuinely, for the next 5 minutes, as you listen to that, take notes. What do you like? What don't you like? What would you like to improve? This is the process of self-awareness, and self-awareness sometimes can be painful. So then you do that. The second time you review it, this time, turn the sound off. Press play, just look at it. It's called a visual review. And just look at yourself. Are you moving your face? Are you smiling? Do you look angry? Take notes. Is there a tick you have? Are you always putting your hands in your pockets? What are you doing? Take notes. So you're building self-awareness. And then the third time, don't listen to it and don't watch it. Get the file transcribed. And once it's transcribed, read what you say. Was it well articulated? Or were you speaking in circles? Could you be more concise? And just doing this process once, it's you looking into the mirror, metaphorically, to see how you currently come across to others when you communicate. We look into the mirror every day when we're doing our hair or dressing ourselves. When's the last time you looked
into the mirror to do your hair?
No.
Yeah.
You can tell. I need a haircut. No, I actually do. It's quite sad. But that's the thing, is that people don't do that. So there's metaphorically, there could be something stuck in your teeth.
Yep.
And you don't know it. And then as a result, you're letting these things continually impact the way you come across.
That's a fucking good metaphor. That is bang on, stuck in your teeth.
Yeah.
So if I go to point 2, the visualize, do you think with all the Botox going on, it's really hard to pick someone's expression?
I didn't know there was that much Botox going on.
I was watching some Desperate Houses of something, and is it called Desperate? No, Housewives.
Okay.
And they're telling the kid off, but their expression's exactly the same.
Yeah.
That? I reckon it's a problem.
I don't know anyone that has Botox. So, yeah.
I do.
Okay. Well, let's
And I
not
could
call
see
them
it.
out on your show.
Yeah. We
Who
don't
are
wanna, we don't want to get them onto the show. So obviously,
Well, it's a problem, yes. But let's just stay on that topic for a second.
Yeah.
Not Botox, but
No.
the lack of expression.
the lack.
There are people who don't have Botox and still have a lack of expression.
Yeah.
And the reason why that happens is generally when we're put into situations where we're on a podcast, and this is scary for some people,
Yeah.
or they're on stage and it's scary for them, is just like how our body language kind of, it constricts, right?
Yeah.
Our facial expression does the same thing.
Yeah.
So people fall into what is known as a blank face. So if you've got a blank face, you sound monotone,
Yeah.
you sound robotic. So again, let's give people blank face VIN, right? So if I was speaking with a blank face, it'd be like this.
Yeah.
There's no expression on my face. Now, if I spoke like this, you can hear it, but for those of you watching, you can see it. I'm not moving my face. And when you do that, you sound robotic.
Yeah.
And then there's no emotion in your words, because one of the key things people don't understand is that your face is the remote control that allows you to inject emotion into your words. And some people don't change the channel. They keep it on the same channel for too long. And then as a result, especially in leadership, they go, oh, I can't connect with this person.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they're not moving their face, and then they seem less human. So one of the fastest ways to humanize yourself, move your face.
Yeah. So true.
And then because it's human, and then now there's emotion in your words, you connect with the person more. You sound more authentic. You seem more sincere.
And I think once you move your face, the rest, you don't have to use your hands, but it tends to follow.
No, you should move your hands.
But it tends to follow. It's a lot easier than someone that's just standing there.
That's right.
And it's all kind of connected, but in very slight ways. And it might only be a small twitch that someone might need.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as that.
So I've been doing this now, teaching this for about 6-7 years. So I've been learning about it for 10, but I've been teaching it actively for about 6-7 years now.
Okay.
And the analogy I tend to use is, do you play golf?
I do, but
Okay. I don't play at all, but I use the analogy.
Yeah.
I just always check because I sometimes use it wrong. But when you're playing golf, because I never do, so let's just imagine I do. But when I imaginarily play golf, when you hit the ball just 1 millimeter away from the last ball where you hit it, it's going to end up in a completely different spot.
Yeah.
The smallest changes when you play golf make the most dramatic differences. The same goes for golf as the same goes for communication. The reason why I bring the facial expression thing up is that's the biggest one that so many of my students, when they come in, if they just fix that,
Done.
that's the 80-20.
Yeah.
That's the 20% of things you have to do to get 80% of the results.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing about communication is that when you improve it, it improves every area of your life. You're better at home with your kids. You're better when you're communicating to your partner. You're better when you're at work. People like you more.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Communication is the key. And do you think that now that you've learnt all these, how does your partner feel about this? Does she just think, oh, you're using some tactics on me, Vin?
Can I tell you how I met her?
Yeah.
Which will give you a very strong understanding of who my wife is. Okay. So I met her at a bar called Distill here in Adelaide. My friends and I were crashing a friend's graduation party. We didn't even know the person actually, so she wasn't our friend, but we're just crashing a graduation party. And then I saw this beautiful Malaysian girl and clearly had my packet of cards in the pocket, walked up to her.
Are you kidding?
It is not even a joke. And then I saw her and I felt so cool at the time because I was like, wow, this is like a movie scene. And I walk up to her and I say, would you be impressed if I transformed this King of Hearts into the Queen of Hearts like yourself? Disgusting. Look, don't judge. Just wait. Don't judge me yet. Just wait, right? Just wait. Just damn it, wait. Everyone's vomiting right now. Just wait. And then she looks at me as if she'd smelt a fart. And she goes, actually, I'd be more impressed if you transformed yourself into a real man and had a conversation with me. I left that conversation with my tail between my legs. But just before I left, I squeezed out a simple, no thanks. And I left. I was gone. I was like, yeah, that's it. Nope. I've never met anyone who doesn't like magic. That's the only move I have. I've played it. I'm out.
Yeah.
I was so shocked by this because the majority of people, when I perform magic to them, they go, wow, you're amazing. She didn't. And I was like, damn it. And that made me like her more. So I was kind of more infatuated. And I was like, wow, how must I do this? I only have one move. And then I kept going to Distill week after week to try to catch her again. 4 weeks later, I see her. So then I come up to her the next time after 4 tries. And I said, would you be impressed if I transformed myself into a real man, took you out for a coffee? She said, yes.
Done.
That was it. You know, and again, it's just...
That's cool.
That's the kind of woman she is. So when... It doesn't matter how influential I become, when she doesn't want to go to your favorite restaurant for dinner, you don't go to your favorite restaurant for dinner. So there's only so far you can take it.
That's good.
Yeah. She's
Wow.
a strong woman.
I think it's funny you were cruising around with a deck with a deck with a deck. Lucky I'm not in New Zealand.
Lucky you're not in New Zealand right now. Because sometimes I carry 2 of those.
Wow. Okay,
man.
and then the rest is history.
But that's my life, dude. My life when I was young was when I kind of felt like I had low self-esteem. I genuinely, with a group of friends who also kind of had low self-esteem, went into the city and just performed magic.
Yeah.
It just made us feel better about ourselves, you know. And
I funny enough, I don't know how it happened, but in Queensland, I was I had a bunch of friends there that they had a pickup club, like to pick up chicks, or it was
a pickup club.
Yeah, like they would go to. His name's Tony, if he's listening, Super Tony, and he
Super Tony.
Yeah, and they so they'd get guys that were lacking confidence.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so I was his target market.
No offense to anyone that's in that club, but probably not the best looking. It's definitely no reflection of you.
No, thank you.
And they would then get coaching tips on how to approach girls, and
like Hitch, like Will Smith in the movie Hitch.
Yeah, but like it's in a group. So it was
they do it as a group?
Yeah, you know, like they go somewhere, like in a mall,
right.
And then they'll all be in like a coffee shop with glass window, and then they'll go and practice trying to approach people by using...
I've seen this stuff on YouTube before.
I thought it was all a bit bizarre. That bizarre that I said, I gotta go check this out. And I was in there, and they were really nice guys, but they were all like they were 24/7 working out different ways to pick up. It was quite interesting because it showed that you don't have to be the best looking bloke on the planet. You just know how to present yourself, and that's exactly what I took away from it. And I thought, well, if it's good enough for them, no, I was already married.
If Nat's listening to this,
but it showed me that it is how you present.
Yeah.
And it is how you communicate.
But the same goes for every area of our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen good friends of mine miss out on incredible positions, not because they didn't have the ability, it's because they didn't sell themselves well enough.
Yeah.
And they sold themselves short. And that's actually a big problem here in Australia and New Zealand. Because when I went to the US, I mean, my whole life I grew up in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So when I went to the US, it was a massive shock. And that's when I realized the extent of, what we call the tall poppy syndrome here in Australia, is that we play it down hard. And when I went to the US, I was still the same, Adelaide Vin is, no, I'm not a keynote speaker. But I was. And I was like, no, I don't do that. And then my manager was like, what the hell are you doing? That's all you do right now. But I was like, no, I can't say that because I'm from Salisbury. And they're like, honey, they don't know where Salisbury is in America. They think it's a town in England. But then it's just crazy because I had that so much in me. I played down everything. And that's a problem too. It's a problem within the way we communicate, but it's also a problem within, I think it's endearing. I think it's beautiful that we're very modest here in Australia. I love that about Australia. But you've got to know when to be modest and when to play your cards strong.
Yeah.
It's when they go, no, I'm actually worth this. You've just got to, you've just got to be conscious of that.
And it's a big problem. Like, you don't quite have the same problem in America.
No.
Where it's quite the opposite.
Well, and I was lucky enough. I was around really, because you know how in Australia we have this stigma of what America is like.
Yep.
And you kind of go over there and you think it's going to be something that it might not be. I met amazing Americans. I was surrounded by brilliant Americans, smart, kind, generous, great at what they do, masters of their craft. I guess I chose my circles very carefully. And what they taught me was that when you're good at something, don't be afraid to let it shine. In the words of Rihanna, shine bright like a diamond. But I mean, the thing that I found was there was a quote that was by Marianne Williamson, where she goes something along the lines of, don't dim your light so that others around you feel comfortable. Because when you shine brightly, you give others courage to shine theirs too, right? So to me, that was a really powerful lesson I came back to Australia with. I went, wow, I used to be so afraid to kind of say, hey, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
You should book me.
It's a bit different. I mean, it's not saying you're not humble.
Yeah.
It's, practicing and playing on your strengths. And I think the one that's highlighted that recently is Gary Vee. In recent years has talked about, don't worry about being that all-rounder. If you're really good at something, you should be excelling at that.
Yeah.
At that thing.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying. And you also mentioned surrounding yourself with the right people. So how important do you think that is in life?
That's the one move I've used in my personal development life. Just how I had one move with dating. I've also got one very core move with PD, right? I love surrounding myself with the people that I essentially want to become.
Yeah.
And that's helped me immensely. So when I wanted to become a speaker, I found speakers to bring into my top 5. When I wanted to learn how to get better on the e-learning platforms and learn how to... I mean, right now what I do is, I built a studio that you've come to in my garage.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I get up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I work with my clients in the US. And to build that, I made sure I brought in someone who was great at lighting, great at camera, understood production equipment. And I brought them into my top 5 momentarily to learn.
Yeah.
And for most of them, I paid them to come into my top 5. And that was great because it enhanced my learning curve like crazy.
Well, it shows.
Hey?
It shows.
Oh, thank you. It's like, well, we can't tell. We can't tell, Vin. I was like, damn it. You've crushed my confidence. Yeah. What is this? The crushing of confidence show?
But I think I talk about surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh God, I've realised. Sorry, I just had 2 energy drinks, so you might get a very excited Vin for the rest of this.
Well,
Yeah.
what
have you done to me? Energy drink 1, which is for calming, and then the second one is it's not for calming.
No,
Sorry.
No. Well, the turkey tail life cycle, JP10 code, just in case anyone wants to buy anything. A shameless plug. And Red Bull. Sugar free. I actually prefer the zero.
I prefer the zero too.
Yeah.
I like
don't know. I think we'll have to have a go at Red Bull for this, to be honest. Why did we get zero? What happened?
There's something coming.
Oh, there. Well, they only gave us
zero is
sugar
great.
free. Yeah, I know.
I like zero more because I drink it guilt free.
Yeah, but they only gave us sugar free, so we said we want zero.
Oh,
Yeah, see.
right.
So Red Bull,
Didn't know the
anyone
difference.
from Red Bull, just, we drink it a lot. We talk about Red Bull a lot. And
Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bull. And
Red Bull.
Red Bull, I mean, I think I should be Red Bull's first business ambassador. What do you think, Vin?
Completely agree.
What do you think, guys? Yes, they all agree. And
I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Because it gives you wings.
Bro, sorry, I didn't know where we were going with this. I was like, mushrooms? Sorry, which brand? It's so confusing. There's too many brands here right now, JP.
So funny.
Oh, gosh.
So to that top 5, I talk about the top 5 people, how it brings into your life.
Yes.
And I talk about people you aspire to be, or you feel that when you leave that group, and you're one of those people that when you leave with you're like, fuck, I feel more energized by just having a chat with you, getting a voice memo from you, a voice message.
Yeah. Which you didn't know how to do.
I then proceeded to give 10 to 20 people voice messages.
How good is it?
It's the replies back.
Terrible for them, but great for us.
The replies back. Oh, this is cool. All right. They're blown away.
Let me tell you this, right? I've had clients through LinkedIn book me for stuff because not just because I sent them a voice message, but one of the reasons why I built rapport with them was because they sent me a message, go, oh, hey, Vin, just discovered you through this. Are you available on this date? I could have typed back, yes, I'm available.
Yeah.
Let me send you straight to my agent.
Yeah.
No rapport, no connection, nothing. But instead I was like, oh, hey, Susan, thanks so much for thinking of me. But in that message, I was able to express gratitude through my tonality. I was able to give her energy. I was able to show appreciation. Like I was able to express so much more in the way I said something than just said, yes, can do, speak to my manager.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
but even though I said the same thing to her through the LinkedIn message, I said it with joy, with appreciation. Trust me, it's a hidden move that not many people play.
Well,
now you
I
play
play it now.
I remember the first one you sent me was hilarious. It was like, hello, Vin. This is the first time I'm doing this. Wow, this is exciting. I was laughing my ass off. I was like, wow, welcome to the future, JP.
Oh man, it's.
Yep.
I was blown away, but it comes down to this: the one thing you've been banging on about is communication, and
I'm banging on about it.
No, because it's crucial for every walk in life.
Yeah.
And I read a book. I must admit, I did this thing. I hardly read it all since school, other than online and just waste of time stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I did the Jim Quick memory school.
Yep.
And speed reading. And that you had to speed read every day. Got a bit slack on it.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I actually, it forced me to actually read, which I wanted to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I did look. I really enjoyed it. Actually, I think the comprehension doing it from a book is very different than other forms of reading.
Right.
And I think that helped me with reading emails and reading everything else from doing that.
Oh,
especially the memory side of talking about using the visual and getting, I can't remember it now, but I did the top 50 elements of the element chart just because you do 10 and 20 and then I might have done 100. I think I did and I was annoying everyone because I'd had the whole story which memorized every element. And I was like,
magicians use that too.
Well, I was like, where the hell was this when I was at school?
Yeah.
So now my girls, Layla, come up to me actually 3 nights ago. She got a whole lot of things there, covered it all, and then took one away, and then goes, well, what one's missing? And I said, then I told her, I said, you know how I'm remembering this? There's a pet shark, and I said the shark was flying on top of the plane, and I had the story of how I remembered what one was missing, and she was like intrigued. She goes, so well, what's this story? And I said, well, it's not my story, it's your story. So she then put it in and then I took it away and she went through the story in her head. I said, you want to remember stuff? That's how you remember stuff. For me, I'm a visual person. That's what works for me. Everyone's different. Scarlett comes across the same thing. Like it's crucial for learning, especially and I wish I had that at school because I didn't learn that stuff at school, right?
Yeah. I didn't either.
So the gym, so it was really good.
Yeah.
And I actually liked the process, and I probably annoyed the whole office because I was coming back learning.
Everyone's nodding their head in the room, by the way. Yep, just
because
to clarify.
I was coming back learning things from it, and I was like, why was that good for me? Because I was right into it. It's like anything.
There's a point in what you said that I think runs even deeper. And it's that you said when you storify something, you remember it more. This is why it's important for people to do podcasts like this. Because what are we doing here? We're sharing stories with each other.
Yeah.
And when we're sharing stories with each other, we're actually deepening the connection we feel. Because now I know more about you, you know more about me, because we've been telling stories to each other. So in an engineering metaphor, we're taking up hard drive in each other's head. So a lot of the times when people work with each other and they don't share stories with each other, the reason they don't feel connected is because you don't take up any hard drive space in my head.
Yeah.
You're just JP, the guy from Drake's.
Yeah.
But the moment you start telling more stories, no, this is JP who loves racing. This is JP who's so into sharing with his daughters all these different learning techniques. The more hard drive space you take in someone's head, the more connected you feel to them. Yeah. One of the reasons why I feel like we live in a world now where people don't feel enough connection is because we're not storytelling with each other anymore. It's like, to me, I love documenting stories.
Yeah.
So anytime something kind of happens, I'll have to document it because then I can go tell my wife and we can deepen that connection. Otherwise, the biggest trap I feel most of us can fall into, including me, is instead of storytelling with each other anymore, we just, how's your day been? I don't know. Yeah, good. Yours? Yeah, good. Busy with the kids. Cool.
Yeah.
And then we kind of stopped there. So to me, as I was kind of learning more about communication, I kind of, in a way, wanted to improve my relationship with my wife as well. Because this is one of the most interesting relationships out there in the world, because all of us have this. This is the one we choose to do for life.
Yeah.
Whereas friends, you can unfriend them on Facebook or whatever, and you can stop being friends, or you can just choose to go your own way. But with your partner, kind of, this is a relationship that just continually evolves. So if you don't deepen it,
where's it? What's it all mean?
Well, divorce, right? Kind of, right? I mean, that's
talking.
yeah. So to me, I'm very interested in this relation, like that relationship. The marriage aspect. I think it's.
And I think how many times I've had the kids. So what did you do at school today, right? Nothing. Like it's like, and so you're right. When you get that's, I'm going to use that tactic about my storytelling of what I do, because it encourages them to ask questions.
Yeah.
I hadn't looked at it like that.
Well, but it also builds a deeper connection with them. So they know
totally.
that dad has so many other aspects to him as a person, because that's something my parents rarely did. And the moment, I became 25 and started to fully develop my frontal lobe and become a person, because before that, I'm pretty sure I was just an animal. And then what happened, right, when my parents started to connect with me more, the moment they started telling me more stories about their life, it humanized them. I loved them more. My relationship with my parents didn't really become what it is until dad started sharing stories. And mum started sharing stories of hardship, of joy, of sadness, of depression, of anxiety. Whereas before that, mum and dad were just, all I knew about them was mum and dad just work all the time.
Yeah.
Dad's just really strict. Mum sometimes gives me a side hug, never both arms, until recently, which was really nourishing. But it's just, I didn't know anything about them. But the same can happen. And I'm trying to use this as a way to help people in general, right? It's just like in work. If some people go, I don't feel connected to my boss. I don't feel connected to the people I work with. Well, did they know anything about you?
Yeah.
Have you shared any stories? Have they shared any stories? Like to me, if I don't run a big team, my team is a team of 3, right? But we're always sharing stories. And the more we do, the more connected we are, the better we are to each other. Because we realize that, you're a person, you suffer, you need this, you need that. Again, the importance of storytelling.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
No, I think that's why all these things we've been doing with the content that we're producing as a team, they're all stories.
That's what it is.
Every single thing, whether it's talking about retailing or talking about the farmers or we're trying to tell it in a storytelling format.
Yeah.
And it's the same with these podcasts. They're long form stories.
They are.
You get a good chance to have a nice chat. And I will segue to your long stories. You're famous for some book reviews.
Yeah.
That can go for hours.
Yeah, too.
Yep. I did listen to the Bruce Lee book story.
Because you're a fan of him.
I'm a fan of him, right? So when I listened to how the book is actually written, and I've read The Art of Life, it's more of
Have you read Striking Thoughts?
No.
Okay, when I read that book, Bruce Lee, Striking Thoughts, I thought my brain was broken. Because I went, I couldn't understand it. So much of it when I was reading, I went, wow, this is so philosophical to the point where I'm confused. And I had to read that book twice before I did that review. Because it was so, you know how sometimes things are so deep, you wonder if it's actually deep?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you read it and you're like, is it deep or is it just really shallow? And then you're confused and yeah, anyway, sorry.
Well, you had your mate that was...
Ali Tarai, yeah.
Yeah, he's not in all of your book. You can mix up your book reviews? Or
No, it's the same guy, just sometimes he wears a hat.
Yeah. So when you go about that, you obviously both have to read the book, which is clear.
Yeah.
And then you go in and just start talking about it.
Yes.
That's quite in-depth book review. I haven't seen a book. Is anyone else doing book reviews like this?
I don't know.
I think it's a world first.
And then the reason why we do it is because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
For too long in my life, JP, I've been doing... the only reason I do things is if there's a commercial angle to it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for the last 6-7 years of my life. And I could say, argue most of my life. And I just said to Ali, hey man, we as entrepreneurs, we try to monetize everything we do. Why don't we just do something for the sake of enjoyment? So we did it. And we just thought, let's just do it. And we genuinely don't really care whether it becomes anything. We enjoy doing it.
I think you can see that in what we do. We're not looking, we have to do some things that we get paid for.
Yeah.
But the other content is, even Ollie, the editor kid, he doesn't understand that, it's half the projects we give him, like doing the Nintendo Switch review, is also he can use his skills to something that he enjoys a little bit more than probably the mundane Drake stuff. And he probably don't get it at the time, but I don't think that happens with everyone. You don't give them that opportunity. You hear of some businesses that we're going to pay you for 80%, but we'll give you some of the tech companies. I don't know how practical it is with someone working on checkout, but you can spend 10% doing something you love.
Yeah.
I like the philosophy. I don't quite know how that relates to my business, packing shelves and whatnot, but it does relate to a software architect and things like that are sitting behind the scenes that do get that time. So it comes down to the channel of doing something you enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he didn't enjoy what he was doing, he wouldn't be here. But we try to make that environment well enough, good enough. That sounds pretty good. To make sure that you can't have a good time all the time. I don't think.
No, that's not real.
Yeah,
that doesn't exist.
But if there are more good days than bad, kind of like a marriage.
Well, yeah. No, mine's always good. What are you talking about? Just speak for yourself. I love you, Pewen. I'm a hostage.
So
Help me.
It's not pay later.
I'm kidding. No, look, far out. What was I going to say? I just got confused because I've just felt immense fear.
It's all right. We'll cut this bit out.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, but what I was going to say was there's no such thing as that perfect job that you love every moment of every day. It's just fun. That's not real. And and I think some people have to be so careful because they spruik that.
Yeah.
They spruik that, I just love my life every single day.
Yeah.
Every single moment of every single day. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. No, but I think it's Red Bull.
Yeah.
I think that was Red Bull channeling through me.
Was that a Swedish?
I don't know what that was. But I'm just going to claim it. I'm just going to claim it as the Red Bull voice.
I think
every moment of every day. I love what I do.
You sound like Muriel from Dilmarte.
I have no idea what that is.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I will send it to. We'll send it to him and see if it's a good interpretation.
Okay, well, do
Dilmarte. You don't know what Dilmarte is?
I know what Dilmarte is.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I've heard the commercials. Remember the commercial? Dilmarte.
Yeah. Do try it.
Dil Drake.
Do try it.
That's it. You got it.
Yeah.
Yep. Terrible accent attempt there, but that's fine.
I should do some voice coaching.
Yeah, you really got to work on the accents.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to do it better.
Yeah.
Where were we?
I'll be back.
Yeah. Oh, that is bad. That is really. There was a sparrow once, and let me tell you this story. There was a sparrow once, and this sparrow was undefeatable. It couldn't, no matter what animal fought the sparrow defeated every animal that fought it. And then another sparrow came along and said, "How did you become undefeatable, one sparrow?" And the sparrow says, "I just picked those I fight." He only fought insects.
Yeah. Okay.
So
never lost.
Choose the accents you do, and you will be undefeatable in the world of accents.
You know what?
It's a long way of teaching you a small lesson,
I hope
young
to get,
sparrow.
I hope to get Matt in here one day.
Yes.
And I reckon he'll do an Arnie impersonation, I think.
You think he could do it?
Yeah.
I have a feeling he can't.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's bad.
He can do a lot of good things.
Yeah, but I think his interpretation's not the best. Maybe need some voice coaching in that.
That's okay. I think we all do to be able to do Arnie. See, I notice how I never attempt it because I'm being a wise sparrow.
You've had about 10 different...
I have, but I never said what they were, so you couldn't compare them.
Okay.
And yeah, you secretly don't even know what they were.
So you actually got the Young Entrepreneur of the Year, is this
2014.
And what was that for?
It was for building a business that was growing fast at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still have that business?
No. I combined that with 52 cards already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your magic online business, what is that?
So it was a business online teaching magic tricks.
Yeah. So is it you?
Yeah. So it's myself and a guy named Assad.
No. But do you do the visuals, or like how do you teach the trick?
Yeah, it's me on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me on camera teaching.
Yeah.
So basically it's because the reason why I did it was because I just saw that the majority of the way people were learning magic was from books and YouTube at the time. But a lot of people weren't doing it well. So I was one of the first few people doing it on YouTube. And that's how I met the guy that I ultimately kind of joined forces with, Assad, in Southern California. Yeah, we were both teaching at the time, and I decided to kind of steer away from it because I found other things that I loved.
Yeah.
Whereas Assad kind of continued with that because he loved it. He still enjoys it. I just had a chat with him over the weekend about how I could help him moving forward with teaching showmanship.
Yeah.
Because before I was teaching technical skill, I was teaching sleight of hand, but I said, oh, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not passionate about it anymore. And I remember listening to someone who said, I can't remember who it was, but he said something along the lines of, I think it was Steve Jobs, who said, if I wake up 10 mornings in a row where I no longer like what I do, I'll quit. I think it was him.
Okay.
So I started waking up for many weeks and months in a row where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So then I stopped. You know, I don't want to just, look, not to get philosophical or anything, but our time here is limited. You know, I watched Cosmos again recently, and when you watch that and you realize how long this universe has been around in comparison to your life is smaller than an atom or smaller than a proton or a neutron. It's tiny when you compare it. So your existence here it's very fast. I just don't want to spend so much of my time here in misery, in pain, in suffering. I don't want to.
Doing what you love.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you've got to be so careful with saying stuff like that too, because
I don't mean you love. I mean, everyone has. If you don't have a bad day, then something's not real. You don't know what the good day is, do you?
Well, technically, you couldn't have a great day because a great day comes as a result of having a bad day, right?
Yeah. So you know, you do need highs and lows.
You do. Otherwise, there are no highs and there are no lows.
And people that aren't spruiking that's not reality.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a bit worrying when people actually do think like that.
Well, I used to say that as a young man, thinking, you do the whole anything is possible, anything can be done. Right?
I say this shit all the time.
But I fundamentally believe that as well.
100%.
I believe this, right? But I used to say it as if, like, you know, it's like these grapes. You can have one. You can have one. We all can. But the reality is, for you to achieve your anything is possible, you have to give something. There's a sacrifice involved.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, well, how much are you willing to sacrifice to achieve your anything is possible? And I'll use myself as the example. I sacrificed too much. I moved away from my best friends in my life. I moved away from my parents, which I love dearly. I moved away from my country that I love. I love Australia. I sacrificed nearly everything to go to the US to build this speaking career. At the peak of it all in 2019, towards the end of 2019, was the most unhappy I've ever been in my life. Because again, to achieve my anything was possible, I sacrificed it all. I sacrificed being home. Like right at the beginning of the podcast, I shared that my wife said to me that you built this beautiful palace and then you're never home. I don't want the palace. So to me, you've got to be careful in building the anything you want, or the anything is possible. Success and sacrifice go hand in hand. The more success you want, the more you're going to have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And
without a doubt.
And that, you know, it's funny because I never really said this, you know, on a public medium, but it's like, that's one of the reasons I stopped following Gary Vaynerchuk early on. He's not about that anymore, but early on it was the hustle mindset. Always, you know, if you're not, you know, work your face off. I was like, how do you actually do that? But so to me, I stopped following key people because they made me all work, no life. So look, anything is possible, but kind of draw the line.
Yeah.
Work out what that is for you. And to me, I genuinely do believe that. If you work hard enough, you can have the things. Hard work, luck, talent, all of that. If it all aligns, you can really achieve it.
And you mentioned the magic word, aligning.
Yeah, it's alignment.
You can have the best idea in the world, the wrong timing.
Yeah.
You can be terribly unlucky, and I think we all know people that are, for some reason, just unlucky.
Yeah, that's weird.
And
it's hard.
You get some that combines everything together, and
it's weird how that happens.
Like someone that owns.
What is it?
So anyone that had Dogecoin got lucky.
It's got what?
Got lucky. Dogecoin,
yeah,
Doge,
yeah.
whatever.
Doge. I was like, what's Dogecoin?
Yeah, got lucky. You know what I mean? It's anyone that bought Bitcoin back in 2014 got lucky, and if they still had it. So I think it all combines. If you talk about with your talks that you do with on perspective, with the magic, is it misdirection or influence? They're some of the tactics used for performing magic.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if
do you still enjoy performing magic?
Yeah, look, I do. I mean, I know that a part of me is performer.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. It brings me a lot of life. It brings me a lot of energy. And yes, I still love it. I still enjoy it. Like I've got an in-person keynote tomorrow, and I can't wait because I'm only doing like 1 or 2 of them a month, but I love it because to me it's a way to be able to. It's still a way to be able to spread joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you I mean, it seems super cheesy, but it's like I like inspiring people. That's so cheesy though, and I know some people are lactose intolerant too, so I've got to be careful. But it's just I do like that. I do like that.
Was that totally let in? That was good.
Yeah, I created the play. And I hit it home run. I hit a home run. Yeah, it was good, right? Yeah, sometimes you got to set it up. Yeah,
I think we get a clap for that.
Yeah, Nat would appreciate that one.
Yeah, that would be.
Right?
It should be all over that one. If we look, have you seen the movie Focus?
Yes, I have.
Now, that's I think quite an interesting movie. I don't want to give it away for anyone who wants to watch it. It is a movie we should do a review on, albeit it's really old. But the way they piece that together, do you see that and think, oh, that's actually quite clever, or you think, oh,
no, it's very clever. But it's the same thing, right? I mean, I do work with a lot of salespeople, and to me, Focus. The reason I bring in that salespeople is because when great salespeople sell you something, you don't know they're selling you. So the method is invisible when you are great at what you do.
Yeah.
And the people that the Will Smith fool, his method in fooling them is invisible. So to me, regardless of what you do, if you're great at it, the method is kind of invisible almost, especially like in sales or in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So same with a magician. If I'm able to make you think it's magic, it's because I've hidden the method completely.
Yeah.
Whereas a terrible magician, you see the method and you're like, so it's in your sleeve.
Yeah.
Right. And then you see it, right? And a great salesperson, like a terrible salesperson, when they sell you and you see the method, it's slimy.
Yeah.
It's like, you're only giving me this because you want me to buy that. And they see through it. So to me, that movie Focus is it's a representation of, or it shows the power of mastery. When you master the process and it becomes invisible, it looks like magic.
Yeah, because it's a pretty clever movie.
It is a very clever movie.
Do you have any other movies that depict magic on a scale of like, that's actually how the mind, that's how we're trying to work, because that's how we're trying to get the mind to work by...
my favorite magic movie of all time is The Prestige.
Such a good movie.
That movie is distilled down to one sentence. I can distill it for you.
Yeah, go.
We should do a movie review.
Go. I definitely do movie reviews with you.
Yeah, well, this is what I'll bring it down to. It's a quote by Raymond Joseph Teller, who is a brilliant magician from Penn and Teller, who says this line. He goes, "Magic is just someone spending more time on something than anyone else would reasonably expect." Yeah. And that's what that movie represents. It's these two people who are willing to spend more time on anything than anyone is willing to expect to create the greatest piece of magic the world's ever seen. And to me, the reason why I say it in that way is because you can relate that whoever is listening to this right now, obviously the millions of people listening, they can apply this to their lives. that are you willing to spend more time than anyone is willing to expect on your craft? Because if you can, here comes the lactose, you can be amazing too.
You say it, Joe. You say it laughing, but
I believe
true.
It's true.
So
yes,
true.
it's true. It could cause diarrhea, but it's true.
It is true about, I believe, any profession too.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I do.
And as cheesy as it comes across when you're that blunt about it,
I know.
And that's exactly it. So if we look into the things that you're working on now, you're based in Adelaide.
Yes.
And you're loving being back. I can just tell it's a relief for you. You actually mentioned some dark times in LA. You've only slightly mentioned it. What sort of things were not going right for you over there, or what was getting you down?
My career path is one of those career paths where the more successful I am, the more I'm away. Every keynote I did, I was generally away for 2 days. So I was doing about 80 to 100 keynotes, which meant I was on about 180 to 200 flights.
Yep.
And I was away for 180 to 200 days a year.
Yeah, that's. I'm surprised you still got a wife.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 58. I just I've aged terribly. No, sorry, I'm the other way around. I'm 18. I just look like I'm 58. No, but the thing is, the thing that was very tragic for me was I wasn't in alignment. So I just came back from 5 days of being away. So I went away. I said to my wife, every year she gives me 5 days away where I do something I call Recalibrate. So Recalibrate is me recalibrating my goals, my values, and my actions. Because what had happened to me was I was living completely out of alignment with my values. One of my values is wealth creation and freedom. That was the only value that I was living. I've got other values. I value connection. And I also value growth, not just wealth creation. But all I'd focus on was filling one bucket. But if you imagine it as buckets, and for me to be happy, all these buckets need to be somewhat full, not empty, not dusty. So I had 5 buckets, only one of them was full. One of them was overflowing, but every other bucket was completely empty. So to me, I needed to stop the water going into this bucket and focus on filling the others. And I could give you an example. Like one of those examples was being a better dad. I want to be a better dad. At one point, I was a really shit dad. You know, and what would I do? I'd come home, overcompensate, buy him stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was, what am I doing? Same thing with my wife. What I would do is, I'm working heaps. Overcompensate, handbags. Let's go to a really expensive restaurant that I've never tasted anything there. I have no interest in that food, but I know that when I foot the bill, it'll be $500 and then I'll feel better about myself. And then I caught myself out just completely BSing myself, not living I've been reading a lot of Brené Brown books, been reading a lot of books that made me realize I wasn't living a wholehearted life. I was living a very shallow life. And I realized these things because I go away for a period of time to genuinely recalibrate. And the analogy I use, again, sorry, just the exhaustion of analogies, but a satellite recorrects its position almost every second. You know, we've got to move 0.1 degrees to the left, 0.2 degrees to the right. It readjusts itself all the time to ensure it's on the right path. Yeah. When's the last time you've recalibrated yourself as a human being? Or are you still being driven off these goals that you set when you're 18 and you said you wanted to make $1 million? Why do you want to make $1 million? So I was still on the path of an 18-year-old as a 27, 28-year-old man for me at the time. So yeah, anyway, what I was saying was the importance of recalibrating. Make sure you take the time out for yourself so that you are clear on what you want, because that makes decision making through life a lot easier. Yeah. So I just came back from that for 5 days. So I feel great. So I feel very aligned now. I'm very clear. I'm clear on what I want moving forward. I'm clear on what I want to do. In 2019, wasn't clear. Yeah. And in that chaos, dude, I was super depressed. Yeah. My friend Ali, the guy I did the podcast with, he heard me on the phone, how depressed I was, and he goes, I'll see you next week. I'm coming over for 2 weeks. We'll sort it out. He flew over pulled me out of the rut.
See?
Saved me, man.
What a champion.
Yeah, he's a champion. And he's a CEO of a business, so he just pulled out, plugged out, and went. It's crazy.
See? That's why you surround yourself with the right people.
The right people, man, yeah.
And crucial for that.
Yeah.
Keynotes, coaching, e-learning.
Not really coaching.
Okay, so e-learning.
Keynotes, yeah.
So you're going to do some keynotes?
Yep.
So I actually feel a bit honoured that you're coaching me.
Yeah, cool. Don't tell everyone. Well, we did, so it's all good.
So, I feel, thank you for that because it's clearly something you're just doing to help me out.
Well, and it's not because, because a lot of people ask me to do it, and I always feel so terrible when I say no. but the reason I always say to them, the reason I'm not doing it a lot or at all is because everything I say yes to, I'm saying no to my family.
Yeah.
And I'd rather say no to people than my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's I feel honoured for that. So
that's okay. Just feel bad because
I'll be
the more I'm with you, the more I'm not with my son.
Yeah.
Who's missing me every moment. Yeah, my wife who deeply wants to hang out with me.
That's doing some people a favour every now and then, but definitely not your case.
Yeah.
So, look, based in Adelaide,
yes,
you can do virtual keynotes still.
Yeah, so I do virtual keynotes. It's going to
be a big thing for the next few years, could be forever.
I hope it sticks around. So I mean, I do virtual keynotes for my clients all around the world, which is really cool. And then I run virtual masterclasses where people want to join me to learn about communication. I do like a 5-day virtual masterclass. So each day is 2 hours. You join me via Zoom and we make you feel uncomfortable and get you out of your comfort zone and we learn.
So they tailor-made for the business?
I do them privately for businesses, but I do public ones.
Yeah, okay.
I do public ones where anyone can join.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Where can they find that?
If you go to stageworkshop.live, you can click on the virtual tab and you'll find it there.
All right. I think if anyone wants to do that, I highly recommend it. I haven't done it, but I've just spending the time with you. It's just amazing the things that you've taught me in such a short period of time without actually even teaching me.
Yeah. Well, we're about to start that, so
I'm excited for that. What do you think is going to happen with travel moving forward? Like, I'm assuming you won't be afraid to travel around Australia because you'll be a bit of a fly in, fly out, or you still won't. Do you feel you actually need to show Vin is here rather than just being on a screen, or not?
Well, I mean, the first of all, the simple answer to that question is I have no idea.
Yeah.
However, here are some thoughts that I have.
Yeah.
Is that I know for me personally, I don't feel comfortable traveling. I've got elderly parents. One of my grandmas are still alive. I love seeing them. So to me, I just don't want to take the chance.
Yeah.
So I've said to all my agents already that, for the remainder of 2021, I'm not flying anywhere.
Yep.
So unless the event is in South Australia, I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, what they pay or anything. I just don't want to do it. So for me, that's my personal opinion. I think travel in Australia is going to come back soon. But I mean, look what happened in Melbourne.
Yeah, crazy.
It closed just overnight.
Yeah.
It locked down again for 5 days.
Yeah.
So to me, that's why I'm firming up as an entrepreneur my virtual business as an offering, as opposed to playing like I know a decent chunk of my industry is, people going, oh, it's going to come back. It's okay. We'll just wait out the storm. And when things are back, it's all good. But to me, I see it as an opportunity now to build up that virtual arm.
Yeah. Totally,
yeah.
And there's no doubt it's going to be around forever as well.
I just believe it's the way moving forward, because if you look at this right, the event industry has not changed in forever. Conferences have always been what they are. It's all right, we'll fly you all in, we'll stay in a hotel, we'll go to the conference center, we'll get the supplies in, we'll get the exhibits going. It's always been the same. And then we'll get a keynote speaker in, get everyone excited, then we get some of the tech people to come and talk about the thing. Like, it's always the same. Once and for all, we've been forced to innovate now.
Yeah.
So to me, I think, funny. It's a terrible thing that happened, but it's forced so many industries to innovate. And it's been awesome to see the innovations. And you know how people would say, oh, yeah, but if you do too much online stuff, there's Zoom fatigue.
Yeah.
There's Zoom fatigue. That's not real. What's real is boring fatigue. Like, when people keep saying Zoom fatigue, I'm like, it's not real. I know you can watch. Just started The Queen on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bloody brilliant. I know I can watch stuff like that, or Vikings, the final season. I could watch that for like 3 episodes, 4 episodes, 5 in a row.
Yeah.
We don't have screen fatigue.
No, yeah.
It's boring fatigue.
Yeah, if it's boring, you're not going to. That's a fair call.
Well, I have boring fatigue. It can happen in 3 minutes. Right? Boring fatigue happens to me very quickly. So to me, I think we say that. Sometimes we say it because we don't want to make ourselves feel the pain that's necessary for innovation to occur.
Yeah.
Innovation hurts. It's not just inspiring, it's painful. Yeah. And yeah.
So I actually like that. It's boring fatigue. It's actually when you look at everything you do.
Yeah, it's true.
If you're actually bored from it, it's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't be in that meeting, or, I think if you've got nothing to add to the meeting, you probably shouldn't be there. Unless you're there as a bit of an oversight. Because I think the more I've grown in the business, the more I realise I actually need to have a bit of an oversight about things that I'll technically have no influence over, but I still need to be there for that particular reason. So there's that general knowledge, which goes against that. Well, if you've got nothing to say, you shouldn't be here. So, but I understand there are people in those positions that, technically there are people working on the role. You just need to have the oversight. So it is a little bit different, but I really do believe if you've got nothing to add to something, you shouldn't. I don't think you're wasting your time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that. So it depends on the context, right?
Yeah, but that happens a lot in business, I think.
Yeah.
Like you look at a meeting or your Zoom meeting, and there are people that actually don't say anything on it.
Yeah.
Are they the MD? Are they the MD that can choose? No, they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just something funny I thought of talking about that. My wife wrote me a Valentine's Day card yesterday, and on there she wrote, "I love you to the moon and back."
Yeah.
And then I called her out on it.
Yeah.
It's like, you've written this twice. We've been to the moon and back twice. And it was hilarious because we had this moment where she was just like, and then she hit me really hard. But I was just telling her, I was like, look, we've been to the moon and back a few times already, and other planets we can go to, like Mars.
Well, Mars is going to take a bit longer.
Yeah, but we can aspire to it on a Valentine's Day card, couldn't we?
Yeah, the latest.
Sorry, I just had to call her out on that. It was hilarious.
My girls say to infinity and back.
Oh.
I've forced them to say that.
Love me, children.
Have you heard of the latest Joe Rogan, Elon Musk podcast?
Actually, I've got about 10 minutes left on that.
Yeah, same.
Fantastic. I love it when they go on a podcast.
So good.
Do you think ours is somewhat equivalent to
probably
what theirs was?
Well, I think we've got way more analogies than ours.
That's what we do have. Way more accents, way more analogies, and way more Red Bull.
Yeah.
You got to look into the camera when you say that.
That one. That one looks like it's actually looking out that way.
Yeah, it's not even looking at you. It's also wide. It's also wide.
Yeah, it looks like it's sitting out there, like getting ready.
I am really, if they don't sponsor you, I'll be shocked.
I think this could be an example. We could say, hey, this is just a normal episode.
Yeah, but it's something we genuinely enjoy.
100%.
It's not one of those where, you know how sometimes on podcasts they go, and now a quick message from the sponsor. Hi, everyone. I really like to drink this drink. Yeah. And then it's just so fake. It's like, it's not real.
Yeah, we're real.
But it drives me nuts because I can always hear the change in tonality and the change in scripting the moment they go to do the ad. You're like, you don't believe in that. You don't drink that. You're lying.
And I think I think people are all over, I think I call it a few things, but suggestive selling or subtle or sexy, if you're talking about a product because you actually use it, it's a lot easier. And
it's much more
I think anyone knows what I use, it's pretty easy. Mushrooms. I do love Red Bull. Like, people know because I talk about it just in general conversation.
Yeah.
Because I talk a lot about what goes on in how good lion's mane mushroom is for the cognitive regeneration of your brain as well.
Right.
And they reckon there's benefits there for dementia, and before you get old, you should be taking lion's mane. So I'm going to give some to my dad.
Oh.
Yeah, not that he's getting
lovely.
old. No, I'm just always thinking of him we need to be alive a bit longer. All right, so we have to wrap it up. Believe it or not, that's like a couple of hours, huh? Yeah. So we have some wrap-up questions.
Okay, let's do it. You made these seem very scary for some reason. Like, you've been breathing in a way that makes me feel anxious.
Okay, so the first question.
Okay. Do I have to answer it straight away? Do I have thinking time?
You can think.
Okay.
You can think. He can edit it out.
Okay.
If you weren't doing what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
what would you be doing? And this could be, don't worry about money, don't worry about anything. You could be doing it with your family, or could be
I've already got it. I've already got it.
Far away.
I would be. There's a YouTube family called the Epic Family Road Trip, where what they do with their entire lives is they've got 2 Jeeps that are decked out, 2 Jeep Wranglers, fully decked out, roof tents, inbuilt kitchens in the boots of it. Just be doing that.
Okay.
I'll be with my wife, my son would be just overlanding around Australia. Then we would get the cars, put them in a container for the next year, for the next season, and then go to New Zealand and overland that for a year.
That's cool. That would be
what
super
I'd do.
cool too. In fact, you
Yep.
just had a bit of a taste of this just recently.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince my wife to let me buy a Jeep
You
Wrangler
had an
right now.
RV.
That was a terrible experience.
Oh,
yeah.
you didn't?
I did. Well, I almost bought the RV, right? And then my wife's like, no. Let's rent it first. And I was like,
idea.
fine, I guess we can try.
Yeah.
Rented it, hated it. Well, because
what?
when you have an RV and it's 30 degrees outside, 35 degrees outside, guess what you do?
Go outside.
You stay in the RV because it has air conditioning. Whereas before that, we used to go tenting and we forced out because it's gross inside the tent. We stayed in the RV and watched Netflix.
Are you?
We did that. And I was like, what are we doing? This is terrible. So to me, I'm like, because I'm a creature of comfort, right? I love to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And there was this really good aircon inside it. There's nothing wrong with the RV. It was great. That motorhome was amazing. But we spent most of our time inside it.
But surely you rocked up to a beach or a secluded beach.
Yeah, we did.
Or
We went outside for a couple of hours and then spent 8 hours in the RV. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I
Did
know.
you film any of this shit? That's hilarious.
We did. There's a reason we didn't release it.
Sorry, I just hit
No,
that.
but that's the thing is that I just realized that,
So how are you going to do what you just said?
Well, then we went out camping with the tent. So then we loaded up our SUV, we went outside and we drove down to Barossa, and there was a few free camping sites, and we went there. We were outside the whole time. It was hot, but we went inside the tent because there was no AC inside the tent. So we were outside the whole time. We cooked. We had beautiful meals.
Okay. So
I love it.
You don't think you could?
I don't want a motorhome. No, the motorhome for Vin doesn't work. Yeah.
Like the one with the spa in there and
No, there wasn't a spa, but it was just too comfortable. It was too comfortable, and yeah, so that's what I'd be doing. I'd basically potentially have a YouTube channel with my wife, and we'd just go overlanding.
sounds great.
Yep.
Not in an RV.
Not in an RV, with a Jeep Wrangler, if Jeep are watching and they want to give me a Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah.
Because
Fair enough.
it's
plug.
fair enough plug, it is. That's what I'd do.
Okay, so if you could go back in time,
Mm-hmm.
what do you wish you had known when you first started out, and what would be your advice to people wanting to start out in an industry of magic or an industry of communication? What could you
Can
tell?
it be for life in general?
life? Yeah, perfect, even better.
Simple
You
quote.
know what? That's a better. I'm going to start going that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Simple quote. Tim Ferriss. Reality is negotiable.
So good. Yep. And so true. Do you just want to leave it at that?
Yeah, that's it. Because it is. When I was young, I guess I don't want to leave it at that. But when I was young, I was taught that things have to be done this way. Things have to be done that way. Whereas, as I've learned, reality is truly negotiable. You can negotiate whatever you want.
This is true.
Yeah.
Almost with everything.
Pretty close.
Yeah. I like that.
These questions aren't as scary as I thought they were.
No.
I thought you were going to say, what is the meaning of life, Vin? And then I would have to turn into a unicorn and do my leprechaun voice again.
That's maybe what it is.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
should
freaking
throw it in there. Just like right at the end.
Just put a big leprechaun
Yeah.
jumping across the screen, Ollie. You've almost got the beard going.
Yeah, well, no, it's like bum fluff more than a beard. It's just a tragic attempt.
If there was one thing that you could do that would have an impact on the world, what would it be?
Like as in I could just magically click my fingers and everyone is...
Yeah. This could potentially be a little bit
I
far-fetched.
would be the Thanos that when he clicked his fingers, he didn't kill half the world. He gave everyone the ability to communicate extremely effectively.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's it. I love it.
Terrible analogy because he
love it.
killed half the world.
Yeah.
Except for me, I just made everyone better.
And that's
Oh, why would I make half the world better? Sorry, when I clicked my fingers, I made the entire world better. Can you imagine that? I clicked my fingers and half the world become great communicators and the other half became terrible communicators?
Well, I don't think
Wow.
it'd probably be a better place.
Why? Why just make everyone better? Then we can all get along in harmony.
Oh, now, if you want to do the whole lot, I agree. But
Yeah, sorry. I had to clarify that because imagine I did that and it made you and me bad communicators. We'd never be able to do another podcast together.
Oh, we could.
Yeah, but it'll be terrible. You wouldn't get your sponsorship. I wouldn't get my Jeep.
It's nothing.
It's terrible.
It's a sad state when you look at it like that.
It really is. Terrible.
Have and have not. I guess that's pretty much life, isn't it?
It really is.
So if we got one more.
Okay.
This one here, this question here, this is probably the one that you've been looking for that stumped people.
Okay. For the record, I bet it won't stump me.
If you died.
Oh, could stump me. I feel stumping coming along.
If you died.
This feels stumpy.
And came back.
Yes.
As a board game.
Oh, this is a stump.
What board game do you think you would come back as?
Just hit my face on the microphone.
I'm
stumped.
I can tell you.
What was yours?
Okay, I can tell you mine.
Okay.
I said I'd come back as Scrabble because sometimes I say stuff and it's really good and sometimes it's really shit, but you never know what you're going to get. I was pretty happy with that one. I don't know where it came from, but we've got one guy that works for us. He's in the top.
That is a good one.
10 Scrabble champions in Australia.
There's such a thing as that?
Yeah, Adam at head office, and he carries the Scrabble board in his boot. But you know, we've had a mixture. We've had snakes and ladders quite a bit. We've had the game Risk, I think. We've had Risk. Oh. We've had noughts and crosses. We've had Connect 4.
That's a bit of a simple game.
Hey, that's okay.
Yeah, okay.
So
I've got one.
Okay.
Chess.
Okay. No one's picked that.
Because it's strategic. And you can still win even when the pieces on the board suggest otherwise. Strategy matters.
I love that. That's great.
Was that the last question?
Yeah.
Because then, to end this episode on board games, there's this great analogy where they say Monopoly. There was a kid playing, just to add one more analogy in there so we ensure we really
get the record.
Nail it in the coffin that we are better than Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, especially their episode. Just in the context of analogies and stories. There was a kid playing Monopoly with his grandma. And he was playing it and the kid kept getting really angry that he was losing. And he's, grandma keeps winning. I'm so pissed off. I'm so angry. And then the grandma said something really beautiful to the kid. The grandma says, look, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. At the end of the game, everything goes back in the box. And that's life. Because we can go collecting houses, we can collect hotels, we can collect money, we can collect whatever we want in this game of life, right? But at the end of the day, we don't own any of it. At the end of the day, it all goes back in the box. So don't be too busy collecting. Live. That's a message to me for myself. So self-serving.
That's such a good message too, because it's really true.
It is.
There's no point. Yeah, there's no point being the richest person in the cemetery.
Yeah, really. It's true.
Just had to add one more.
And scene. and cut.
Well,
couldn't let me have it, JP. Had to tag in another line. Had to just. But I'll add some value before we end. It's my show, not yours, Vin. There you go. That's my JP voice. That's my JP voice.
So funny. I mean, there you have it. Vin, so good having you come on
thanks,
board.
Man.
Well, we've had many conversations, but to catch you for a couple of hours and go through it. Well, I'm really sorry we had to wrap this up. What I would say early, but we do have some other things that we have to get onto today. And this is the first breakfast one, and it's it's a lot more difficult in the breakfast. Normally, this is the only one I haven't been drinking in too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I don't drink.
Yeah. So normally it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I thought 9 o'clock. It's a little bit early.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, it's such an interesting array of things that you're talking about. We're going to put some tags there if people want to find out where they can look at your workshops or hire you for a virtual keynote or anything like that, so they can get in contact with you. So we'll put and follow you on whatever other mediums that they can follow you on. I once again do thank you for coming on board. I think we'll be having you come back for another podcast sometime down the track if you would like to.
No worries.
And I think I'd be happy to do movie reviews with Vin.
That would be fun.
Yeah, because I love movies.
Me too.
And I think someone that can have some analogies through there is really going to help us out.
Oh, my dad was kind of Confucius-y, so...
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm part Confucius-y.
Yeah. I can feel it, and I love it. And I love that you've had an impact on my life and will continue to, and that means a lot to me. Thanks for coming on board. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.